Today I cover weeks 16 and 17 of my fat loss phase, coached by Paul Revelia. Will I finally get a diet break? Stay tuned. Hey, this is Colin DeWay. If you want to master your metabolism and create forever results, start now by subscribing and click on that bell notification so you don't miss anything. So when we last left off, I talked about how even though my weight was relatively the same from the previous week, that the weight was actually elevated due to some digestion problems as well as training inflammation and some soreness in the body. And even with that, Paul said he was noticing that there was nice body composition changes happening, so he kept things the same. And if you look at week 16, as I got into things here, the weight did start to come back down, and I saw a pretty decent drop of about 0.9 pounds on the scale from week 15 to week 16. And I gotta be honest, when I was getting ready to check in with Paul at the end of week 16, I kind of thought that things were stagnant. Even though we saw that reduction as an average from the week before, and I'm all about those averages. If you've been watching my videos, you know this. However, I also know that my weight was elevated artificially, so that made the previous weeks look a little bit off. And if you look at almost 2 weeks ago, I had seen a couple days at about the exact same weight that I was at now, so I was like, maybe things are kind of stagnant. But then I measured my waist, and then I measured it again, and then I measured it about 5 more times because I could not believe what I was seeing, and it was down a ½ inch from the previous week, which at this point is a huge reduction in my waist, considering how lean I am already and how far along we're into things. I'm just not seeing anything more than about 1/8 of an inch any week, so clearly some nice changes are happening. Anyway, I let Paul know all this, and he said, yep, I'm seeing real nice changes. Usually when you see changes in body composition, you'll see the weight drop later, so let's just keep going with things the way they are right now. And then week 17 happened, by far the most challenging week I've had this entire prep, as my body showed all the signs of dieting and starting to fight me a little bit. I had no energy, no strength. I was feeling beat up and tired and sore. Little nagging injuries were starting to pile up a little bit. I was starting to feel hungrier, and the biggest telltale sign for me was I was starting to get really agitated by little things that wouldn't normally bother me. But thankfully I was kind of aware enough to realize, hey, this is part of the dieting. I'm not myself right now. I need to be careful how I respond to things and not do anything stupid, like take it out on my loved ones. Now for this next part, this is gonna sound a little conceited, and I really don't mean it to be, so please don't take this the wrong way. I realize that I'm not anything special. I don't think I'm anything special, but at the same time, I do realize that I do tend to get better results than kind of the average person does, and I think there's a big reason why, and I'm hoping it can help you by talking about it. I don't act based on emotions, and that's what kills so many people. When you diet and you start to get leaner and calories get lower, it's almost inevitable that you're gonna start getting a little bit more tired, a little bit more cranky, a little bit more run down, and all these different feelings are gonna come your way. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. In fact, it's literally just a normal physiological response to dieting and your body's self-defense mechanism against it. In fact, it wants you to feel this way. It literally is trying to get your leptin to get back up so you can finally feel better. So something that's gonna be a key part of your success is to recognize this, understand when you're being emotional, understand why you're being emotional, and have some systems in place to keep you from making decisions that are against your best interest. And that's what I want to share with you today, are some of my systems that I use to help me. I basically have 2 things that I always go back to that helps me tremendously. The first and biggest one that I constantly go back to is this fear of regret I have. I have a huge fear of regret. So when I get emotional and I get into a place where I feel like doing something that I know I probably shouldn't, I always stop myself and say, will I regret this decision later on? And I just have to be really open and honest with myself and be rational in a time when your mind is kind of being irrational. But if I can just stop myself and be honest and realize that I will regret these decisions later, I can keep myself from doing something that's going to be against my best interest and keep me moving forward. The other thing I do is I tell myself to do the thing that I said I would do when I wasn't tired and emotional, because that version of me was reasonable and logical. This emotional version of me is not. And this is why I pretty much never binge, and I almost never have like effort moments and go and do crazy things that I know I shouldn't do. Not because I'm built a certain way or this is just the way I am, it's because I've established these new systems to be reasonable in unreasonable times. Trust me, I haven't always been this way. This isn't something that just comes naturally, so don't do the thing that a lot of people do and just say, I just am the way I am, this is the way I've always been and there's nothing I can do about it. And definitely stay away from saying things like, it's easier said than done. When you do this without really even realizing it, you're basically using yourself as an excuse, and that's almost impossible to overcome. Because if you truly believe believe. You just are the way you are, and it's just your makeup, and there's nothing you can do about it. How could you ever possibly change? But you can change. You aren't just the way you are. Everyone can change. Sure, we all have certain tendencies and things like that, but we're ultimately in charge of every decision that we make. Trust me, I have all the same emotions that you do. I promise you. I have all kinds of times where I feel like it's too much. I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna fail. I'm not good enough. That is not worth the effort. That I should just give up. But I don't, and the reason I don't is because I don't act based on emotions, because I know I will regret it. Alright, anyway, with those feels out of the way, I did check in with Paul. I let him know what was going on. I let him know how I was feeling and how I was run down and how everything was kind of emotional and stuff like that. Without complaining, I just said this is the way it is, and thank God he said time to take a diet break. This is the first diet break we've taken, and I honestly did not expect to go 17 weeks without a single diet break, but I think the process was just going so well before, and I wasn't really feeling any big effects from the dieting, so there was really no need to make any big changes, and since I was seeing progress, why change anything? And I don't think Paul expected this either. In fact, when he was talking about the diet break, he said, another diet break. Probably because it's been so long and it's been going so well, he didn't even realize it. And when I said this was the first one, he was like, yeah, you're definitely due then. Now, one thing I do want to mention is I think it's a little bit different since I'm in actual show prep when there's an actual set deadline that you need to be ready for. You need to be in a certain condition at a certain time and you have to be ready, and there's no other way around it. It kind of changes things. If this was just some regular cut that I was doing just to try to get in better shape or trim down a little bit, I probably would have taken 2 or 3 diet breaks by now just to stay ahead of things and just to take a little break here and there and not just stay on the grind all the time. But since I have this deadline, it's a little bit different. Which, by the way, the new macros he gave me for the week are 200 protein, 300 carbs, 65 fat, which I eat all 7 days of the week, as well as cutting my cardio in half. And if you look at the difference in my cutting calories on an average, that's a 282 calorie increase and a 75-minute reduction in cardio for the week. So I'm hopeful and really do think this will make a huge difference, and I'll start to feel much better as I get some more carbs in my life and get some of that cardio down and start to recover a little bit better. I fully anticipate for my mood to start improving and just to be in a way better spot, and hopefully set myself up to make that next push for conditioning as I'm about 11 weeks out from my first show. Actually, what I'm really curious about is to see how he's going to respond after this week, to see if he just comes back to these same macros, if he makes some adjustments down, or if I even lose a little bit during this break, which I could see happening if he'll keep me on the higher calories for a while. I really have no clue at this point, so I'm kind of anxious to see what happens in a week here, but we'll have to wait and find out. I know if it were me, once the diet break was over, I would definitely make the adjustment in macros down and probably add a little bit more cardio, but we'll just have to see what he says. Anyway, diet breaks can do wonders to keep your metabolism in a good place, to keep the hormonal adaptations from occurring too much, and just to keep you happy and enjoy some more food and setting yourself up for better success in your fat loss phase. However, there's a lot of mistakes that many people make when it comes to diet breaks, especially with regards to the actual mindset of one. Paul and I have actually done a video talking about some of these mistakes and some of the things that you need to keep in mind as you're going through a diet break, so make sure you check out that video here. And I also have a playlist about diet breaks that has 4 videos, including that video that's in the description of this video below, which covers the science behind them, how to set them up for yourself, and more. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.